Good morning, and thank you for coming and sharing with us this morning. I want to thank the clergy of the city for coming and sharing with us on this morning. Let me begin by saying that there are several clergy who has been in contact with this family, with both families, the Weatherspoon family and the Washington family, and they will continue to work with this family. On yesterday, the video came out showing what took place in reference to the shooting on Argyle Street. It is a very disturbing video, and so we've come this morning to give 10 reasons why these officers should be terminated right now. Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. talked about the urgency, and there is an urgency at this present time that these individuals be terminated. Number one, they violated their own rules that they were trained on. One, officers must notify dispatch when they are attempting to stop a motor vehicle. That was not done. Two, officers must notify dispatch when they will be exiting their vehicle to speak to a motorist or to attempt to get a suspect out of the vehicle. That was not done. When an officer is dispatched to a call or is in the process of searching for a possible armed suspect, their body cameras should be activated immediately. That was not done from the Yale police officer, from the Hamden police officer. He activated his while he was shooting. Four, officers must activate their overhead lights when attempting to perform a motor vehicle stop. They must put their lights on when they are making a motor vehicle stop. That was not done. Officers must not use their vehicles to perform roadblocks. That was not done. Officers should call for immediately backup when performing a motor vehicle stop and should give the description of the vehicle, occupants, location of the stop. That was not done. Seven, officers should notify dispatch immediately when they are entering another jurisdiction, and a supervisor should be contacted for permission to enter the jurisdiction. That was not done. Medical attention shall be called for immediately when an officer discharges his or her weapon. In the case where the scene is active, medical should be called and told to stage in an area nearby until the scene is safe, and then respond immediately. That was not done. An officer is responsible for every round bullet that he or she fires and must clearly identify a threat target before he or she fires their weapon, and for the officer must be aware of who or what is in the background. And finally, officers will perform a high-risk felon stop according to their training and department protocol, and this was not done. We do not need to wait until the state attorney, Patrick Griffin, finish his investigation. They have violated every protocol of their department. And we're asking Hamden, we're asking Yale, as of this day, this time, this hour, to terminate those two officers to bring some relief to our community. Mr. Weatherspoon got out of the car with his hands up. Hands up, and was fired upon. And if you think that we're going to continue to be silent about what has taken place, it doesn't matter to us whether it's black, white, or Hispanic. They must go today. My final thing I want to say to you today. We praise God that these two individuals were not killed. That's what we do. You can imagine if that had happened in this city, what it would be like today.
Yes.
And to say that you are going to wait until the investigation is over, we're sending a message today. You will not wait. We will not wait. The urgency is now.
Yes.
Are there any questions? Yes.
You sounded, all that stuff sounded right on. Did you look at department rules and regs? Did you have an expert look?
You want to know how I got this?
Yeah.
We got researchers that has researched all this, and that's what they have given us, and that's what I've read from our researcher who works for our church here.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Kimber, did you was demanding the determination, but to see the commissioner of state police a week after the shooting hold that news conference and put that video out,
And that is great.
did you find that was a step in the right direction?
That was a step in the right direction, and they have not acted this fast before. And so that is a step in the right direction, but Hamden and Yale must make a step now. Mm-hmm. And that's where we are. We know that the report is going to come from the state attorney and from the state police department. We know that is coming, and we know what that's going to be.
And let me...
Hold on for a minute. Any other questions?
Yeah, Reverend Kimber, we talked to Mr. Witherspoon last week,
Mm-hmm.
and he told us what we now see on the video. He got out at the officer's command with his hands in the air.
Yeah.
State police confirmed yesterday that he was in fact ordered to get out of the car and was attempting to comply. Based on that knowledge, is your anger intensified? Are you more disturbed by this? And then I have a second follow-up question.
I think more intensified.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, here is a man with his hands in the air.
Yes. After he was asked...
I don't have a gun. I got my hands up. That's what they are taught. That's what we're teaching black young men and women to do in our neighborhood. When the police stop you, put your hands on the wheel. They ask you to get out of the car. Get out of the car with your hands up.
Hands up.
And so he did exactly what they asked him to do. Your second question?
You all represent a broad array of constituents in the city.
Yes.
Members.
Yes.
Have you heard from your flocks?
Heard from them. Heard from them. We trying to be cool ourselves. We trying to show them the path of righteousness. But the unjust that has taken place brings about a level of fire.
Yes.
And frustration.
Yes.
And anger. I want to say a final thing. Listen, the person who called the police
Yes. Yes. The story.
need to be arrested too.
Yes. Yes.
Because what he reported was false.
They're in our neighborhood.
And so we're asking the state attorney to arrest him also.
Right. That's right.
It's amazing that you can call and make a statement that there is a black young man and he has a black woman in the car and they just try to hold us up.
Come on.
What? You know, I know. Black profiling.
Yes.
Right.
They profiled this young man and this lady. Now, we're not so sure we're not going to close that store down.
We go.
Because we got a problem with that.
That's right.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Any other questions?
The dispatch, the words that were put out on the street were so definitive in terms of that a gun was used. And we asked the commissioner yesterday is that the proper protocol? Shouldn't you keep on questioning the caller? Did you see the gun? What color was it? What shape was it?
That's right.
Because it sounded like it was a foregone conclusion that a gun had been on the street and used. So the officers had that.
Well, anytime a person of the opposite color said that a black man had a gun,
Yes.
there's going to be a reaction.
Yes.
And especially when you come in Dixwell and Newhallville, you have stereotyped us. And we ain't like everybody that has stereotyped us. We do have character. We got integrity. And Hamden police, Yale police, they were wrong. They violated their own procedure. And today, we don't have to wait for the state attorney to give us a report. You saw it. We saw it. What is the wait? Yes.
On behalf of my family, thank you guys.
Yes.
They need to be fired.
Yes.
Yale need to fire him, Hamden need to fire him, and let them sue their departments for wrongful termination. But our community, the healing cannot stop until they acknowledge that what was done was wrong.
That's right.
Right.
Let them fight in court about them
That's
trying to
right.
do their job.
That's right.
They need to get fired like
And we certainly agree with that. I'm going to have John Lewis to come. We're going to continue to push urban trauma for Hamden and the surrounding communities and de-escalation. Let me say this to you. It's painful standing here this morning
It is.
for all of us.
It is.
It's very painful. It could have been any of our children.
Yes.
I have sons. I have daughters. And it's painful to us. And I hope and pray
Come on.
that Yale
Come on.
would see the pain in this community.
Yes.
And that Hamden leadership
Yes.
will see the pain within our community. Any other questions?
Dr. Kimber,
Yeah.
Ms. Washington's family, I've spoken to her attorney, they respectfully ask for privacy. I know Mario had a chance to speak to Paul, none of them have spoken to her yet. Is there anything you can share on how she is doing, not to get lost?
I can't. She was just from Mario Boone. You know, he's the man, and she was just released from the hospital. I saw it on Channel 8, and so we don't know anymore. But these gentlemen.
You believe she was released?
Well, that's what he said.
What did her family relay in their conversation to you? And just
No. You just said that the family wanted some privacy. So that means you and me and everybody.
Give them to privacy. Let them have their privacy.
All right. Okay.
Just one more question,
Yeah.
if I could. New Haven Police released to us Officer Eaton's background, his personnel file showed no disciplinary infractions. I requested that information from Hamden as well. They have not provided it. Would you like to ask them to?
Well, I mean, he been on the force for 4 years. I think he was in New Haven for 4 years, 2 years, and now he's been over in Hamden. I don't even want to see his record. I want him fired.
Yes.
It's not about looking at his record. He can have a stellar record, and it only takes one incident
That's right.
to deter
Right
all
now.
of what you've done.
Like what we see right
Yes,
now.
ma'am.
Kimber, have you spoken to either the Hamden mayor or the acting police chief as far as what we saw yesterday and the body cam? And what was their response? What did they say to you if you did?
Spoke by text with the Hamden mayor this morning. Have not talked to the police chief as of yet. But the bottom line is, and I said it the other night, 233 years of the existence of Hamden, there has not been a change of color in its leadership when it comes down to the police department. There's never been a black chief of police. There's never been a black deputy chief. There's never been a Hispanic, none of color. It has always been the good old boy network that rises in Hamden. It must change. And it is a good opportunity for the leadership of Hamden to look like the community in which it serves. You can't have a whole bunch of white officers in leadership serving a diverse community and expecting for the community to be treated fair. And that's where we are.
It's not going to happen.
Do you have any plans at this point for how to convince Yale and Hamden to fire the two officers?
We always have a way of convincing, and we learned that way through the civil rights movement.
Yes.
Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. marching from Selma to Montgomery to change the minds of George Wallace, and also coming to Washington when he met with Lyndon B. Johnson to deal with the 64-65 civil rights. We got a way.
Yes.
And it's a nonviolent way
Yes.
that we will deal with this.
Yes. And
Additional demonstrations?
Well, you will be one of the first to know. And I'm going to have John Lewis talk about the training. I'm going to have Scott Marks to come and talk about the next demonstration.
But again, you asked what's up next. I really want this community and the leadership even now to understand that investigating the case, take advantage of this moment that we have right now, and thank God that none of those young people lost their life. We're in a very pivotal moment that we can really be the catalyst for that change. And that's what Dr. Kim is talking about, the training that we're talking about, the urban trauma and the Kingian de-escalation training. The officers that are policing this community need to understand the community they're policing. Unfortunately, we do not have a large number of people applying for the department from their own community, so you need to build relationship with the community that you're policing. How are you going to come in and be in a protective mindset when the only education that you got is based on videos and the interaction that you have watching or hearing about something, but you never engage with the people that you know that you're addressing or that you're pulling over? So what this urban trauma training does and the Kingian de-escalation training do is not just about what they've been getting. Everybody said, well, they go through a lot of training. Well, what's the result of that? Look at this now. All the training that they've been going through, we still have these situations going on. It's about them understanding how to engage with the community. The urban trauma gives them an education, giving them generational information about the trauma, what policing, how policing started. And so that they can be educated about how we feel about that, even subconsciously. And we can go into a whole nother conversation with that. But there's a lot of things that they got to be educated about. The Kingian de-escalation training helps it grow, helps it have safe conversation, helps them understand how to manage the conflict. Not that you shouldn't have conflict, but to have healthy conflict, and that we grow into change. Too often we want to do a 6-hour training or a training that lasts for 2 days and that's done. No, this kind of training helps develop relationship. And it helps be able to put it in a place where there's some engagement there. And that's important because you won't shoot somebody as quick if you got a relationship with them. You won't be so quick to grab your gun to fire at somebody to take their life if you've been engaged with them. Not saying that, again, and a lot of the officers, they worry about, is it a shoot or don't shoot? It's not that. You don't have to be or engage in a de-escalation tactic if you yourself is already understanding the population you're dealing with, and that person doesn't be a threat to you because of their color.
Yeah, that's enough teaching.
Yeah, I'm saying.
Come on, repeat after me. Hands up, don't shoot.
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 Justice for Paul Weatherspoon.
Justice for Paul Weatherspoon.
Justice for Stephanie Washington.
Justice for Stephanie Washington.
Justice for Paul Weatherspoon.
Justice for Paul Weatherspoon.
Justice for Stephanie Washington.
Justice for Stephanie Washington.
Justice for Paul Weatherspoon.
Justice for Paul Weatherspoon.
Justice for Stephanie Washington.
Justice for Stephanie Washington.
I want to thank the clergy that came here today, the leadership of Reverend Dr. Kimber, bringing us together
Yes.
on this serious matter. And basically, the community has responded from all walks of life. This terrible tragedy could provide as something that could separate us and tear us apart.
Yes.
But we stand here today as men of God, calling all our communities together because this fight must be taken on together.
Yes.
The one thing I'll say, in the place where our children were shot upon, basically is a neighborhood over 80 years ago that was named declining and hazardous when redlining was in place. Redlining is outlawed now, but that name and that stigma is still on our community. Yes. And we're calling for transparency. Say that with me, transparency. Transparency. Accountability. Accountability. And equity. And so on tomorrow at 5:30, we're calling all community leaders, all organizations, with our differences, to come together.
Yes.
On the corner of College Street between Wall and Grove. We will be going to the president's office and immediately following going to his home.
Yes.
And we're demanding justice for Paul, justice for Stephanie, accountability, transparency, and equity. Thank you.
Yes.
All right, let me thank everyone for coming and sharing with us. I'm an alumni of Yale, and Yale's going to have to do what's right.
Yes.
And we're going to make sure they do what's right. Hamden is next door to us.
Yes.
Hamden is going to do what's right.
That's right.
And we're going to make sure they do what's right. Thank my colleagues in ministry for sharing with us today. We still have a lot of work to do. Thank you all so very much.
Yes.
All right.